we have been having a wonderful conversation for the last few weeks about the power and the beauty in the energy of being non-resistant. Not an easy thing to do, right? And many of us have an ego that would say, well, that's just stupid to be non-resistant. You just get walked on. You know, you never get what you need that way. But I'm going to offer today that it's actually more powerful than resistance, as we've been talking about. And it's very probable that the number one reason we came here as spiritual beings was to be in a human body and have human experiences that we couldn't have in a spiritual dimension where everybody loves everybody. We came here on purpose to have conflict. Would you believe that? No. It's okay. Say it. I don't believe that. All right. Well, whatever works for you, that's fine. I'm not here to insist on this. I'm just offering some ideas. But I really do think that human relationship is the number one challenge in this experience. And it's ultimately for a good reason. I think it brings a gift because when you are in conflict with someone, it's an opportunity to create. When you bump into something that you don't want or someone that you don't want, rather than suffer through it, here's a chance to just take a step back, take a look, listen, see what's here that I would prefer, and then move into what we do want. And that's where we grow. That's where our spirit starts to unfold and be more of itself and allow God to express its fullness. So if you could just get into that point of mind where you find yourself in conflict, to just take a step back and say, there's a gift here. Let's figure out what it is. Now, when we talked about non-resistance last week, one of the things we reminded ourselves is you cannot change them to be somebody else. As much as we would like everyone to be like moi, that's not our job, nor is it possible to try and convince somebody to change and become more like us. But once we know the truth about this whole relationship and this whole universe, which is no small thing, obviously, then we're more ready and willing to look into this gift that might be here. Now, at some point, some of us might decide, okay, as much as I'm being non-resistant here, I can see that this particular altercation is not going to be resolved if I'm expecting them to give, so I might have to look elsewhere for my good. And that's absolutely a way to see things, because our infinite good is everywhere present, and it works through multiple channels. So we want to remember that. I don't always have to get everything I need from that person over there. So if they don't want to go this route, that's okay. I'm going to look elsewhere. But what if we're in a conflict with someone who we live with day to day, and we expect to continue living with them, and we want to get along, or we work with day to day, or it's, part of our extended family, or we're going to school with them every day? You don't want to blow up those relationships, right? Plus, you care about them, hopefully, enough that you want to kind of work through this. This might take some practice and some practical principles to apply to get us to a point where we can have these types of conversations. So I came across this one video that I wanted to share right now, and just see if we can learn anything from this. Just pay attention to what each one of them are saying.
It's just, there's all this pressure, And sometimes it feels like it's right up on me, and I can just feel it, like literally feel it in my head, and it's relentless, and I don't know if it's going to stop. I mean, that's the thing that scares me the most, is that I don't know if it's ever going to stop.
Yeah. Well, you do have a nail in your head.
It is not about the nail.
Are you sure? Because, I'll bet if we got that out of there...
Stop trying to fix it.
No, I'm not trying to fix it. I'm just pointing out that maybe the nail is causing...
You always do this. You always try to fix things when what I really need is for you to just listen.
See, I don't think that is what you need. I think what you need is to get the nail
See,
out.
you're not even listening now.
Okay, fine. I will listen. Fine.
It's just... Sometimes it's like there's this achy... I don't know what it is. And I'm not sleeping very well at all. And all my sweaters are snagged. All of them.
That sounds really hard.
It is. Thank you.
Ow! Come on, if you would just...
Don't.
Try to see things my way.
I love that video. So we probably are all been there in some way. You know, it's as plain as the nail in your head. Why are you not getting this? And I just got to say that at some point, when you feel like you're presenting the solution and they're not hearing it, they don't want to hear it, then at that point you just kind of walk away. You don't want to be part of the situation. But remember, we're trying to be in a relationship ongoing that is empathetic, it's honest, it's supporting the good of everyone involved. We just need to learn some practical ways to do this so we can get through situations like that. So we are going to rely heavily today for content on what Marshall Rosenberg wrote, a book called Nonviolent Communication. Who here has taken one of my classes on this or read the book? Okay, well, I can't emphasize enough how helpful this book is. And it's in every kind of circumstance in relationship in your life that you might run into, so you might want to pick that up. Nonviolent Communication, Marshall Rosenberg. And then he's written a few other supplementary materials to look for. So when we're feeling like our need is not being met from another person, and we're getting angry and frustrated or feeling helpless, this is a process that will help us express what's going on for us, asking for what we need, without blaming or criticizing. That's the big deal here, because it's hard to hear. It's hard for them to hear when we go into that mode. What we want to get to is a win-win scenario where they're able to listen and you're able to get what you need. So if we go back to that video clip of the nail in the head, what was her problem from her point of view? How was she describing the problem? Pressure. Wasn't being heard. Yeah, she couldn't say that, though. She didn't want to talk about that, the nail in the head. Her sweaters were snagged. She wasn't sleeping. What was she afraid of? Did you hear her say, I'm just worried that it'll go on forever. You know, she didn't know how long it was going to take for this to stop. And as she did that, as she said that, what was his response? You have a nail in your head. That might be the cause of it, right? And her response was, it's not about the nail. Don't try and fix this. Good listeners, you guys. Did a good job there. And so he goes right back at it, fixing the nail again. And she said, you're doing it again. So what do you think her internal need was at this point? To be heard. And we might refer to that not only to be heard, but to kind of be felt. We might refer to that as empathy, that she had a need for empathy. And as soon as he went to, it sounds like that would be hard, boom, her need was met. Could you feel it? Thank you. Okay, so she just kind of wanted him to feel the pain that she was feeling. So Marshall Rosenberg says up here on the screen, when we're in pain, there's something enormously valuable to just having another person in contact with it. It's amazing how that kind of attention can make such a difference. It doesn't solve our problem, but it provides the kind of connection that lets the problem solving become more bearable. When we don't get that, then we both end up in more pain than when we started. So that hearing what she was going through, maybe even feeling it, that empathy, is important. Even though he said, you know, it doesn't really solve the problem or it lets the problem solving be more bearable, I'm going to suggest that if you can get to empathy for the other person, you're actually opening up the power of divine love within you. And that divine love is all about creating good for everyone involved. It's a point of view that sees good in the person, that wants good for them, and is willing to do good for them. So it's not only opening up the love and the care, but it's also going to make room now for you to hear your inner guidance. This is where intuition can be heard, when we're in a state of empathy or caring. And then the steps that we take next are positive ones. They're going to actually make some difference. So we're going to take a look at this system of nonviolent communication today, and it's just got 4 simple steps, and then we're going to tie it back to the spiritual principles underneath it. But when we've been talking about being non-resistant, this is a system that allows us to just discover what's needed for one another and create a safe environment to be able to communicate that and to also be able to respond back and get the needs met. And the first step in this we talk about is observation. So observation is not like when you're an idiot, then I need you to be this. But it's speaking only of the facts that actually happened. Now, this is hard for most human beings because we always want to associate it with our feelings and our opinions about the person and make some kind of an evaluation. So up here on the screen, the difference of the evaluation versus the observation. The evaluation might be, you never spend time with me anymore. And the observation could be, we haven't spent an hour alone together in a month. Do you see the difference? Yeah, so one of them, you never spend time with me anymore. Okay, truly, is that true? That's never going to be true, and I'm using the never word, ha ha. So avoid the never word or the always word and recognize that we want to stick with facts that are truthful and that won't make them defensive, and it won't be a judgment of any kind. So an evaluation, which we're trying to avoid, might be, you're always complaining. That's what it is that you want to have fixed. You're always complaining. Well, always is one of those words we don't want to use, and it's also basically judging them. Another evaluation would be, you were angry with me for no reason. Well, my hunch is that person has a reason. So try and stick with literal, physical facts that have taken place and talk about those first so that they aren't defensive. They can't really argue with what you just said. There's no opinion. There's no drama in the middle of it. It's just something that actually happened. When you leave your socks on the floor at night. Now, don't say when you always leave your socks on the floor. You just say when you leave your socks on the floor at night, okay? Or when you arrived here 15 minutes late for our appointment on Tuesday. That's a fact. You hear that? There's no opinions. There's no judgment, okay? So that's our observation. The next step is about expressing our feelings. And this is important for all of you who struggle with identifying feelings. This is so important. Because what it's going to do is when you are able to express a true feeling, they're going to open up because they're hearing, oh, I didn't know that was going on for them. That would be uncomfortable. I love them. I don't want them to have that feeling. So now they're open. They're ready to hear something. The problem is, can we get to a feeling word? A lot of times when I say, tell me how you feel, they'll say, I feel that was thoughtless. Well, there's no emotion in that statement. I feel that. Or when we say, I feel like you don't want me. So there's no emotion in that statement, right? It's a judgment. I feel when you avoid me. Okay, well, there again, no emotion. So when we are going to follow I feel with I feel that, or I feel like, or I feel when, I feel that you don't understand me. All of these are judgments, analysis, nothing to do with emotions. So we're going to try and get to an emotion word. Now, we might still have problems with that emotion word because we don't really know what an emotion is. Sometimes we think to say, I feel unimportant, that's saying an emotion, right? Right? No. Unimportant is not an emotion. You hear that? I feel misunderstood. That's not an emotion. That's more like, you don't understand me. There's a judgment in it, right? I feel ignored. That's another behavioral description of what they're doing. We still haven't gotten to a feeling. So give me an example of what a feeling word might be in this case. When sad, yep, I feel sad when we haven't spent more than a month or more than an hour together in a month. I feel sad. What else might we feel? Okay, one over here. Okay, what's the emotion in that? Sadness, okay. Yeah, but do you see how that happened? We feel like I miss you. That's what we're trying to convey here, except that's not an emotion. So then we want to go deeper and ask ourselves, so when I miss this person, I feel, and just keep going until you can actually hit on an emotional word. So we're at sadness. What else? Irritated. I feel irritated. Yep, that's an emotion. What else? hurt, what? Lonely, perfect example of this kind of situation. Up here on the screen, let me show you a list of emotions so you can kind of get a feel, because most of us have trouble with this, being able to identify. We're back to saying, I feel like, and then using a different word. So these emotion words up here on the screen are what's really going on for us at that level that can communicate something to the listener in a way that their heart opens, and they want to see if they can do something then to help you. So once we get to that, let's see, when we only spend 1 hour alone together in a month, I feel sad, and the next step then is the need. Convey to them the need. Here's how you do it. You tie it back to the feeling. Why do you feel sad? Because I need. Why do you feel irritated? Because I need. This is almost harder than getting to the feeling, is being able to describe what the need actually is. But if you can just remember to use the word because, I feel this way because, then it's going to tie it back to the feeling, and you're going to better be able to describe what the need is. So we're taking responsibility for this situation and why we feel this way, and it's the whole reason we're having the conversation in the first place, because we have a need. Otherwise, if we didn't need something from them, we wouldn't need to have this conversation. So we really need to know what that need is. This is going to take some time for you. And I'm just going to, I know because when we are normally in conflict with one another, it happens suddenly. We don't have any time to think about it. And what I'm really encouraging you to do until you get these steps under your belt is that you kind of think this through in your head first before you go into the conversation with them. If you feel yourself starting to explode or wanting to make accusations, you might just want to say, you know what, I need a few minutes. Let me just take a step out of this so that I can kind of work this out before I say anything. And now we're looking for what that need is. When we say what's behind this whole conversation that we want to have, it's going to take away any blame that you're going to put on them. This is my need. We're trying to make it so it's not your fault or that you're bad because I have this need, but just ready to open up and get ready to ask for something. So hearts are starting to open. They're able to remain present. They're not feeling like they're being blamed for this. So examples of needs are acceptance, respect. I need equal opportunity. I need kindness. I need intimacy. I need appreciation. Those are the kinds of words we're looking for that will fill whatever's missing for us. And we're not to the action yet. We're just saying, what's behind me having this conversation with you? Because something's missing in my life. And when you get down to it, when you really realize what the motive is for having this feeling of conflict between you, then it will help you identify for yourself what's going on in you. And you might learn a whole bunch of things. Like, wow, is it really appropriate for me to have that need from them? Am I looking in the wrong place? So we're going to come back to that in a minute. But for instance, here's a good example of expressing your need. I feel infuriated when spelling mistakes like that appear in our public brochures because I want our company to project a professional image. So I feel infuriated. Is that up here on the screen? We don't have that one, Cindy? Okay. I feel infuriated, so there's your feeling. But even before that, when spelling mistakes like that appear in our public brochures, that's the observation, okay? So let's say you're working together with your team in the office, and you've got an admin assistant who just is not able to follow directions very well, and they're not doing a lot of checking their work before they publish it kind of thing. So you start to get a little irritated about it, in this case, infuriated about it. But the problem is the facts are provable without any emotion. We could probably just say, look, here's our brochure, here's the mistake, okay? So nobody can argue with that, and nobody needs to take it personally. I feel infuriated. Okay, tell me more. So you start to feel like maybe there's something here that really matters to you. And here's the need. I want our company to look professional to the world. Okay? So that has nothing to do with that person making them bad or wrong. It's simply just helping them understand how important this is to me. Is this making sense? Yes, you're nodding your head a little bit. So go back to our original case study here. When we haven't spent even an hour alone together in a month, I feel sad because I need to know you care about me. Or I need to know that you like being with me. Or I need to know that I matter to you. Can you hear that? So what if the need was, I feel frustrated when she comes in late? What might the need be there? I feel frustrated when she comes in late. What might our need be? Respect. Have my time honored, yes. Many of us are short on time. We know that. Yeah, I need to finish projects on time. That's important to me. Okay, so at that point, the other person who's listening is starting to absorb how important this is to you, what the motive is, what's behind it, how you're feeling about it, what actually happened to bring this up in the first place. Now we want to finish it off with step 4. We make a request. Again, not as easy as it sounds. Because most of us make a request that says something like this: I want you to stop ignoring me. So first of all, you're using a negative request instead of a positive one. Stop ignoring me. And secondly, is that doable? What are the parameters of stop ignoring you? It's not very specific, is it? How would a person respond to that? How do I prove to you that I'm not ignoring you? That just makes it difficult. It kind of sets you apart. It creates more defensiveness, or at least confusion in that. So we don't want them to respond to, stop being so selfish. Because again, ego's going to jump up in the other person and start either defending or blaming them, have all kinds of conflict going on instead of what we want. Even, I want you to start being part of this relationship. What does that mean? How can I do that to prove to you that I am part of this relationship? I mean, give me some help here. Let me share something from one of Marshall Rosenberg's books called Living Nonviolent Communication. He's talking about a woman who said to her husband, I don't want you spending so much time at work. So that's her request. I don't want you spending so much time at work. And then she got furious with him when he signed up for a bowling league. She had told him what she didn't want, but he didn't have his NVC ears on. He didn't know how to hear what she did want. Of course, it would have made it easier if she had said what she did want. But if he had been wearing NVC ears when she said, I don't want you spending so much time at work, he would have said, oh, so you're concerned about my well-being and you want me to get more recreation? Not on your life, she said. If you have spent only 2 nights in the past 6 months with the children and me. And the husband says, so you're really disappointed in how much time we spend together and you'd like me to spend at least 1 night a week with you and the children? Exactly, she says. So did you hear how he, even though he was the accused and she had the need, he was able to use nonviolent communication on her behalf? He helped her get to what the actual request was that he could help her with. So when we make the request, another piece of this that's important is we don't demand it. This is kind of hard, especially when you're in one of those long-term relationships where you know you're going to have to see each other every day and you want both of your needs to be met. When you make the request, instead of saying, I expect you to, we just start with, would you be willing? Let's say those words together. Would you be willing? Say it again. Would you be willing? Yeah, just feel it on your tongue there so it starts to become more natural. One more time. Would you be willing? Yeah. So what does that say right off the bat? To them, they're hearing, oh, all right, whatever it is they're about to ask me, it's optional. They're not demanding, they're not forcing me to change or be any way that I don't want to be. I can say no if I want to. So again, now they're more relaxed, now they're more open and ready to hear what the need is. So in this case we've been working on, when we haven't spent even an hour alone together in a month, I feel sad because I need to know you care about me. Would you be willing to spend at least 1 night a week with just me? See, you need to know what you want. You need to know what will fill that need. And recognize it cannot be something that's about them changing who they are. It needs to be something that will serve the need of whatever's missing in you and maintain a quality relationship where there's empathy and there's honesty and both of you feel like you can be who you are and continue in this relationship. Is that making sense? Barely. All right, let's keep going then. So let's compare this program with our spiritual principles and the principle of non-resistance. Think as you're about to go into this type of a conversation that first and foremost, you want to get back to God. You want to get back to what's actually true in this universe and how you can be in the flow. You can become the way of God in this conversation. So the first thing that we want to remember is non-resistance is my way of being. I'm going to go in here recognizing that I live in a universe that is for me and for this person. I'm going into this experience consciously holding this idea that there's nothing to fear, there's no one to push against, there's only one presence here, it's all God, it's all good, and the power that works for me is working for him, and it's love. So now we've started with God first. Seek ye first the kingdom of God, and all these things will be taken care of as well. So keep that in mind first. You want to come in here and check in with Spirit first. Get your connection going. And then you can come back to, now, what's missing in my practical life experience right now? What do I need? And so when we're trying to fit in the observation and the feeling and the need and the request, we want to think about the circumstances that kind of got us feeling like, something's missing here. What's the circumstance? Doesn't have to be an emotional experience or a judging experience. What do I need in order for me to move forward and feel like I'm fulfilled? And then I'm going to see if they'll help me do that. There was no drama in that, right? It was just a recognition of, I'm missing something, and it would be better if this need was filled. How might I get that filled? And I wonder if they would help me. Instead of, you need to fix this now. Which one would you rather respond to? Yeah, it's obvious. So as we're presenting this from a spiritual perspective, we want to come at it with that whole energy of, I care about you. You know, usually when we're in a fight, I care about me, right? But if we can start with the consciousness of, I care about you, and I accept you as you are. Ooh, have you ever started a fight that way? I care about you, and I accept you as you are. You're laughing. And I want to continue a positive relationship with you. And I don't see you as an enemy. So what's going on now for that other person when they're hearing all this? Wow, come on in. Let me help you. What's next? How can I be part of this? And I want a win-win scenario. I want to make sure that, everything that happens here between us is working for the highest good of both of us. And I'm trusting that what I'm asking for here is that the good that I'm seeking is actually already present, because God is present and God is the source of our good. So we can know from that place that whatever it is that I'm seeking, I will find because God is here. And I'm just wondering if you're willing to help me with this. Knowing that God works through you as well, trusting that you have just as much access to the divine wisdom as I do, hoping that you have an idea about how we might take the next step forward. And it might be at that point when they hear what the need and the request is, they still might not be able to help you. Now, come back to the 4 steps, the observation. When we need to come up with our observation, we were going to recognize, something just happened here that went differently than I thought it was going to go. And also differently than I would prefer it to go. So we first make that observation, remembering that the fact that it went differently than I thought it was going to go, that contrast experience, is still a win-win, because it's going to give me an opportunity to see what I might create here. And that comes even with a negative feeling that comes up when we have that need, that negative feeling is just a little signal from your higher self, and it's saying, whatever it is you think is happening right now that's causing this negative feeling, that's not really the highest point of view. So let's make some adjustments here and see how we can see this differently, see it through Spirit's eyes. And when we get to the need part of it, we can remember, wow, this is an opportunity for my spirit to evolve, to grow, to try new things, to allow God to express in new ways, and to create. We don't always have to have everything go our way. If they did, there would be no reason to be on this planet, no reason to check into the human experience. Let's, as Jesus said, there's going to be tribulation, but the I am, the Christ within, has overcome. So let's just walk through the steps and see if we can't make things better and have this experience of creativity. Now, when we get to the request, there's one last thing I want you to think about. When you get to the request, ask yourself, is it really their job to give this to me? If we are making a request that they never leave our side, because that's what we need in order to feel safe, is that really theirs to give? No. If we make a request that they check in with you before they go anywhere or make any decisions, is that really yours to request? No. You can pretty much, I think you're all smart enough to know when the ego is the one that's making the request. So let's hear your own words come out of your mouth and take a moment to listen to it and say, should I really be asking them for this? Or is this something that should come from within myself? A lot of times we do that when we are either, we have a really low self-esteem, and the only way we can feel good about ourselves is if someone else continues to tell us how much they love you. You never tell me you love me. I need you to tell me that you love me all the time. Well, that's a request that needs to start from within. And nobody's going to be able to do that for you. They're not going to be able to tell you all the time, and they're not going to be able to make you feel any differently about yourself. So this whole process might lead back to you connecting within for what it is that you need instead of demanding it from someone else. And if it's not theirs to give, then we've got our own work to do. And if it is an opportunity for them to give, they also have the option to say, you know what, I can't really do that for you. Or I'm not willing to do that for you. Or I would love to do that for you, but right now I'm just not able to do that for you. At this point, we have to be willing, if this is going to work, for us to look elsewhere for that source of good. And of course, it's going to start with God. And there's going to be infinite channels that our good can come through. So it may not be that this person has to necessarily provide that need for us. Can you see how that works? Nod your head. Anybody out there listening at all on one? Okay, right. So when we started this conversation, we were talking about a relationship that we want to maintain in a healthy way. Honesty and empathy between us. And so we are going to want to be as present as we can in this moment and as connected to our higher self as possible. Pray before you do this. Meditate on love before you do this. Get into that place of knowing that God is my source, so no matter what happens here, I will have my needs met. And that God is the only power working here, so no matter how it looks like they're against me, ultimately they cannot keep me from my good. My good comes from only one place. So we want to start with that premise of thinking, you know, really, there's only one side here. Most of us think there's two sides and only one can win. But what if we started with, there's one side here, we have joint needs, we may approach them differently, but we care about each other, and we've got a source that's going to provide for everything that we need. So how can I get to the place where I'm becoming the way of God to help make that happen? Let's take a review up here on the screen of the 4 steps. The first letter in observation is O, so remember that letter. And observation is about just relaying the facts of what actually happened that started this process for you. F starts with feeling, and it's about an emotional word, not a judgment, not drama, not using the I feel like. And then the third step is expressing the need, starts with an N. What's behind the feeling? Why am I even coming to you with this conversation in the first place? What's the deeper need in me right now? And R is the request, making a clear, positive action request versus changing your way of being for me. And at that point, let's look up here on the screen and see how this this sentence may play out for us. Next slide. When you facts, I feel emotion because I need whatever the need is, would you be willing to request? For all of you who want to take pictures, this is the slide that you want to remember. Facts, emotion, need, and request. Facts, feeling, need. Okay, wait, I'm doing it wrong. I want you to really get those 4 letters that we've been talking about. So let's go back one slide. See down here at the bottom, OFNR. We should communicate this way oftener. That's how you're going to remember this. We should communicate this way oftener. OFNR. Observation, feeling, need, and request. Okay? And let's go forward one more slide in case you want to get that picture. There's one last, just some beautiful words from Rumi that we'll listen to and take into our meditation about this. Out beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right doing, there is a field. I will meet you there. That's what nonviolent communication helps us do, is to recognize there is a field where nobody has to be wrong and we can still have conversations that get our needs met. So let's take some time in the quiet and see what will help us move into that state of consciousness. You want to just start by closing your eyes so we're not distracted. And feeling the chair beneath us. Grateful for its unending support, allowing us to relax. Take a deep breath, and as you release, we're releasing all stress from the body. Take a few of those, allowing every muscle in your body to relax. Shoulders, hands, feet, face. In the next breath, we begin releasing tension in the mind. As we breathe out, we give way. Breathe in and breathe out, releasing the need to control. Breathing in safety. Breathing in relaxation. Breathing in gratitude for God's infinite provision. And in this quiet space, we are open and receptive to that one and only presence that not only fills heaven and earth, but fills my very being. A presence that's here and now as pure love. There is great love here for me. I sense this ever-present love working for my good, wanting good for me. And is the source of all my good. I feel that love and relaxation and trust and gratitude. I breathe easy now. And if there's one person close to me or far away that I feel in conflict with, I feel indifference with, I just bring them to mind right now. I may notice how they are different from me. And I come back to my source and remember, I can allow, I can accept them as they are. For they have nothing to do with my good. I give thanks for that presence that's here in our midst and not only filling my own heart, but their heart. And I see and I trust the divine wisdom within both of us, the one mind that we share as the guide to our next step. I am free and able to desire their good as much as mine. Trusting that our infinite source of good is always present, always giving. It's safe to want good for both of us. Knowing that I am willing to be open I am willing to listen. As I speak truth in love. For there is no one and nothing here to push against. The only power in this relationship is love. From this easy place of receptivity, honesty, and empathy, I become the way of God, free to share from my heart, to listen from my heart, to give from my heart, and give thanks that my good comes easily to me through one of God's infinite channels. What a relief. Thank you, God. This is the truth of the universe I live in. It's the truth of my own being and of theirs. And now I welcome it and allow it to be. And so it is. Amen.